In the dimly lit hospital room of Kansas City, a desperate man gasped for breath as he called out to the weary nurse on duty. "I implore you, find someone, anyone," he pleaded with urgency. "It cannot wait." Responding to his plea, a fellow patient named Tom Hoots was hastily summoned from the adjacent room. Eager to hear the dying man's tale, he leaned in closer, ready to grasp the words that would reveal a hidden fortune, worth thousands of dollars, comprised of gleaming golden eagles and coveted double eagles. The dying man, Henry Williams, began his account, transporting Tom Hoots back in time to the days of yore. 50 years ago, he began, his voice filled with nostalgia. "I toiled in a livery stable in the humble town of Pocahontas, Arkansas. The month was in its prime, and within our midst arose a force of nearly 900 Confederate soldiers, led by the indomitable Commander Joseph Porter. Their purpose? A daring raid on the Federal troops stationed in neighboring Missouri. Henry's disdain for the Confederates was palpable, his dissatisfaction with his meager earnings evident. $4 a week, he scoffed. Hardly worth the sweat on a man's brow, and those soldiers, arrogant and suspicious of any man not in uniform, they made life unbearable for us civilians. So I made a decision. I would venture forth, seeking solace in a place where I could breathe freely." With a keen eye for their movements, Henry learned the path chosen by Porter's men. Gathering his faithful steed, 2 mules, and his meager belongings, he set his sights on Franklin, Arkansas. It was a race against time, a quest to stay ahead of the marauding soldiers, spreading tales of their impending march and seizing any spoils abandoned by fleeing farmers. The room fell silent as Henry paused, his frail body fighting for each breath. Tom Hoots leaned in, captivated by the tale of stolen fortune and daring escapades. Little did he know that this encounter would lead him down a path filled with danger, adventure, and the pursuit of a legendary cache of hidden treasures. On the first day of my journey, roughly 15 miles out, destiny led me to cross paths with 3 weary men on foot, guiding 2 burdened mules burdened with bulging leather saddlebags. They hailed from Walnut Ridge, Arkansas, their mules now limping under the immense weight they carried. Moved by their plight, I offered to alleviate their burden by transferring some of their load to my pack animals. Together, we fashioned makeshift bags from a sturdy canvas bedroll. More than 3,000 gleaming pieces of silverware, a collection of precious jewelry, and a cache of 30 pocket watches found their new abode upon the backs of my fresh mules. Curiosity piqued my interest, and I inquired about the remaining contents of their heavy load. One of the men, his voice laced with anticipation, revealed 470 silver dollars and over $19,000 worth of golden eagles and double eagles, a staggering fortune exceeding 1/200 radiant gold coins. As we ventured forth, our path leading us into Franklin, we spread whispers of impending doom. The rumor of a forthcoming Confederate invasion, poised to seize the town's every possession, quickened the pulse of its residents. Over 60 souls, gripped by fear, abandoned their homes with haste, seeking refuge in the nearby sanctuary of Whitehawes. Within the abandoned dwellings, we scoured for sustenance and sought out hidden treasures. Though we discovered some meager spoils, our search for forgotten riches proved fruitless. It was later revealed that Porter's troops, straying from their intended path, veered northward towards Clark Ridge, some 30 miles distant from Franklin. Undeterred by this revelation, we altered our course, aiming our sights towards Pilot Hill. There, we encamped for 2 weeks, seeking to unravel the exact trajectory of the Confederate forces. Our plan was simple: to instill fear in the hearts of the hill folk, compelling them to abandon their homesteads in a frenzy, leaving behind a trail of forgotten treasures waiting to be claimed by the daring. Such was the nature of our adventure, driven by the promise of wealth and the thirst for the unknown. As we prepared to embark on this treacherous path, little did we know the challenges that awaited us, the secrets hidden within the rugged hills, and the twists of fate that would shape our destinies forever. I rode into Franklin, my horse's hooves echoing through the quiet streets. The news that Porter's troops had been delayed and would not depart from Pocahontas until December 2nd reached my ears, casting a shadow of uncertainty over our plans. The cold autumn air chilled my bones as I waited, days turning into weeks, for the fateful departure. Those long days of waiting were filled with boredom and misery, but they afforded my companions, and me, the opportunity to ready our mules and prepare for the journey to Rolla, Missouri. We knew that, as we ventured closer to West Plains and Houston, where Yankee sympathizers abounded, our prospects for plunder would grow richer. On the day of our departure from Pilot Hill, a grim sight greeted us along the road. A fallen Union soldier, his life cut short in the midst of this chaotic conflict. Swiftly, I stripped him of his uniform, tucking it away in my pack for future use. December 4th brought us to a town we had not previously known, Sterky, Arkansas. Like a whirlwind, we spread word of the approaching Confederates, urging the inhabitants to flee for safety. In their haste, they left behind a trove of loot worth $900, along with fine bedclothes that would bring comfort in the long nights ahead. The journey continued, each step bringing us closer to our destination, our pockets growing heavier with the spoils of war. The road ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but we pressed on, driven by the allure of wealth and the thrill of the unknown. About 4.5 miles north of Sterky, our weary group came upon an Ozark spring, its waters bubbling with life. Surprisingly, the sound of a dog's bark reached our ears, echoing through the quietude of the unpopulated wilderness. With instincts honed by survival, we swiftly gathered our animals, sensing danger was nigh. Urgency propelled us towards a nearby sinkhole, a sanctuary some 400 yards away. The persistent barking grew louder as the dog closed in, heralding the arrival of Porter's advance guard, 4 figures emerging over the crest of a hill. In this desperate moment, our hopes of concealing the treasure within the small den or cave of the sinkhole were dashed. The opening proved too narrow to accommodate our coveted spoils. Time was short, but determination fueled our actions. With fervor, we hastily excavated a 2-foot trench, encircling the perimeter of the hole, burying the precious bags within its depths. Scarcely had I donned the stolen Union uniform and concealed the freshly disturbed earth beneath a carpet of oak leaves when the advancing guard descended upon us. Overwhelmed and outnumbered, we were swiftly subdued, taken captive by the Confederates. Curiously, their interest seemed more fixated on our pack animals than on our own fate. Yet before the rebels could determine our destiny, a single gunshot pierced the air, bringing down one of their own. A dozen Union soldiers materialized, encircling us with a cold, calculated demeanor. Stripped of our weapons, we were herded alongside the fallen soldier towards a cluster of towering trees, near the very spring they dubbed Lost Spring. A scene of horror unfolded before us, as the 3 companions who had shared my harrowing journey were summarily hanged by our captors. The weight of despair clung to the air, suffocating and relentless. Amidst this grim spectacle, the resolve of a Confederate soldier wavered, his spirit broken. In a desperate bid for freedom, he fled, only to meet a swift and fatal end at the hands of his pursuers. After a heated exchange, the rebel soldiers swung from the gallows. I felt the icy grip of fear tighten around my heart, convinced that I would be next. With a desperate plea, I spun a tale of being a captive, ensnared during a daring reconnaissance mission into Missouri under Jenny and Marmaduke's watchful eye. I divulged the movements of Coulter Porter, his departure from Pocahontas on that fateful December day. The Yankee officers were impressed by the intelligence I provided. In a flurry of action, they released my horse and entrusted me with a new duty. I found myself riding alongside Union soldiers, a guardian angel for 3 families, Black, Kellum, and a name lost to the fog of memory, as we embarked on a treacherous journey to ensure their safety in Rolla, Missouri. As for the fate of my companions and the 2 Confederate soldiers, I can only surmise. Perhaps it was the sight of those empty pack animals that sealed their doom, convincing their executioners that these men were nothing more than ruthless bushwhackers, rather than loyal Confederate defenders. But on that 120-mile journey to Rolla, my mind strayed to a different kind of treasure, a secret cache hidden from prying eyes. a fortune destined to remain buried unless divulged by yours truly, the sole bearer of its location. Upon arrival in Rolla, my path veered towards Knobview before leading me to the bustling streets of St. Louis. 'Twas in 1863 that I found myself transferred to an Illinois infantry unit stationed in Evansville, our watchful eyes guarding the mighty riverfront. A curious tale, ain't it? For you see, despite my lack of formal enlistment, I embarked on quite the odyssey within the ranks of the Union forces. At the ripe age of 77, my mind still haunted by the echoes of that treasure and the grim spectacle of them 5 souls dangling from the trees. Not a single day passes without the memory clawing at my thoughts, tempting me to return to that accursed place. Yet each time I've mustered the will, fate's hand has intervened, steering me away from that forbidden ground. Perhaps it was meant to be so, but I couldn't bear the burden alone no longer. Shortly after I finished spilling them words, Henry Williams drew his last breath. Tom Hoots, well, he didn't seem to get too riled up about the tale, though it lingered in the corners of his mind. In 1913, a year later, he bought himself a farm near West Plains, Missouri, determined to uncover the truth. He sought out them survivors of the Black and Kellum clans, but their recollections were as thin as smoke in the wind. Not a soul amongst them could recall ever laying eyes on Henry. But Tom, he couldn't shake that story, not even when he relocated to Archie, Missouri near Kansas City, working as a postal employee. Now his son, he stayed behind in West Plains, nursing that tale like a fire in his soul. It gnawed at him, whispering its truth in the depths of his heart. And in 1935, fate finally smiled upon the Hoots kin. While hunting for a fallen meteorite, the younger Hoots stumbled upon the sinkhole, the spring, and the very grove where them 5 men had met their end, just as Henry Williams had painted it in his words. A team of loyal friends rallied round the younger Hoots, and a search was set in motion. 4 men, digging deep into the earth for 6 grueling days. On the 4th day, they unearthed 2 gleaming pieces of silverware, and on the 5th, a rusty hunting knife. But that was the sum of their findings, nothing more. Come 1967, the whole tale burst forth into the light, making its public debut. And to this day, a 3rd generation of them, Hoots bloodline, carries that burden, their hearts filled with the reverberations of Williams's story. With each rising sun, their faith grows stronger, believing that the Bushwacker treasure remains where that imposter, Henry, swore he helped bury it. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to read the original article or purchase the magazine from which it was taken, please check out our website, truetalesofburiedtreasure.com.